That was a really long bio that I don't remember having written that much about myself. Oh my God. So I guess, wow, these are bright. I guess what I'm here to talk to everybody about today is just sort of a little bit about my journey from sort of coming up with ideas and doing things into actually creating products and stuff that go to the masses. Theoretically, I think I'm a serial entrepreneur, which is what we're going to talk about here. All of my slides are totally almost irrelevant to anything I'm going to say to you today. I'm really bad at Keynote and PowerPoint and all of these, and I used a lot of like the flame effects and like the sparkle fades because I liked them a lot. Click. Boom. So, it was before it was trendy, I think, to be like a serial entrepreneur. I think I stumbled into it without knowing it. Everything that I started at some point, I eventually failed at, but I started a long time ago when I was a really little kid. And I guess I had almost my first investment concept, build a community, build a product thing around snap bracelets when I was in kindergarten. And what happened was I saw that snap bracelets were really trending, and I'm just gonna let you guys know everybody gets snap bracelets. So just pass this bag around and go to town. What's also awesome is I've done this before, and usually they give me like this little stack of like snap bracelets, like 4 colors. There's like feather boa snap bracelets in there, like fancy word. It's the best pack of snap bracelets I've ever seen in my life. But back to the original boring snap bracelets that I started. So when I was a kid, I had this idea. I was like, Mom, I want to sell snap bracelets to all these kids in my class. I don't know why I wanted to take advantage of kindergarten children, but I wanted to sell snap bracelets to all of them. And so my mom was basically like my first angel investor. She fronted me the money and told me if I could sell them, she'd keep it going. Like she was gonna be my supply chain. So I got a bunch of snap bracelets in neon colors, and I went into school, and they were like, we're selling for 50 cents a pop. I think the price, like the cost of goods sold, is like 10 cents each. So I was making like 5x revenue. It was pretty amazing. And then I also had sort of my first issue with that, because I found out there was another kid in my class who could do bubble letters. And I partnered with him to do bubble letter people's names on each one, to like make custom snap bracelets for everyone. So like if you were like Charlie, like your snap bracelet would say Charlie with crayon. But then I had to pay him, and like I actually, like, our partnership failed, and it kind of ended bad. So, but for a while there, that was the first thing I jumped out at. So, from there I started doing a lot of different stuff. I sold in like 5th grade, all of us were trading like playing cards. And I realized that the sheets of 9 that you could stick the cards in were 35 cents. But the individual card holders were 10, so I started cutting the 9 sheets in and selling individual ones to people at 10 cents a pop, which is again making me 65 cents profit on a 35-cent investment, which went a long way for like extra nuggets at the cafeteria. So since then I sold mixtapes, I like sat on people's like cats, or pet sitting. I bought like a buffer, like a car buffer, because I'm from New Jersey, and like car culture is like a thing there. So like one summer, that's what I did. I just walked around with a buffer and put things on people's cars. Like, I'm gonna buff your cars, guys. Like, I'm gonna do this thing, and like I put investment in that. So that was that. I eventually went to school, and my school was American University in DC. It was great. I had no idea where I was going there. I thought I was gonna go and study like Japanese and girls probably. But I had no idea what I was gonna do. And one day I saw a guy walking across the campus, and he was holding a big external hard drive. Just walking, I was like, hey man, what's going on? I played basketball with this guy. I was like, why are you always carrying this hard drive? And he said, hey, I'm in the, well, he didn't say hey, I'd already said it, but he was like, I'm in the audio engineering department, and like, this is what we do. Like, I record music for a living. And I was like, dude, that's what I've always wanted to do. Like, I didn't even know we had that major at this school. How come no one talks about it? He's like, because there's 17 of us. And we sit in this basement all the time, and we just record crappy music. I was like, I love it. So that's what I decided to do. 2 days later, maybe even 2 weeks, 2 days, I switched my whole major, and I decided I was going to become an audio engineer. Like, this is what I was going to do. My calling hit me. This is what life was for me. I'm going to sit in studios and record music, and it's going to be fantastic. So from there, that's what I did. And I started that way. I kept my degree. I was moving all the way through it. And around junior year, I had started recording so many people and taking so much of the studio's free time that I realized I could levy this free studio I have to like launch my own sort of company off of that. So I created a record label, Shine. This is the proof that I once ran a rap record label, if you guys were ever wondering. It was in DC, it was called Heavy Syndication, and that's what we did. I was levying the free studio time for lowering the cost of it. We were putting out mixtapes, we were doing all kinds of stuff. I had 3 artists at the time, 2 producers. I think it was kind of, the new American dream of sort of like the urban male, I suppose. And that's what we were doing. It's like the new t-shirt company is like the new record label is the new iPhone app. So that's what we were doing. And what came about was I realized no one would invest in like this rap label, and I had no money. And we were selling mixtapes and nothing was really working, but like we felt like we had a little bit of people like liking what we were doing and talking about all the different stuff that were going on. So I went to a friend who had always been in the community with us and hanging out, and I was like, listen, I've got a new idea. I want to take this label, I want to do what we're doing here, but what we found from doing the record label is that majority of my work as the label head is just making phone calls. Like I call this person to get the CD mixed, this person to get the CD mastered, this person to do headshots, this person to do album cover artwork, this person to make a website, blah, blah, blah. I want to just package that all into one company and so if you're an artist in the DC area and you show up, we're going to do everything. We're going to mix, master, record, produce, engineer, everything in one shot. We're going to offer packages. So I did, and I raised a little bit of money for that from a friend, and we opened a recording studio in the suburbs of DC. It went really well for about 2.5 years. This was like 2006 to 2008, and that's what I was doing every single day. And I sort of got into this groove where I wasn't even really enjoying making the music anymore, being a part of that, and it became really hardcore business for me. And then I think everyone's heard that like the music industry kind of went south a bit. So around 2000, late 2007, early 2008, the record industry part, like the record company part was failing. The record studio, which is what I was making a lot of the money, was failing because we hit this weird point where everyone had a cousin who would record them for $10 in their basement in a bag of weed. And like everyone that was paying us on volume, like large clients that were, sort of more established artists, were like, I'm not gonna stay in the DC area because I could go up the road to New York and maybe I'll get some gigs and I can perform, or I'll go to Nashville, I'll go to Miami. There's no reason to be out here in this weird warehouse in Rockville, Maryland with you. So that's what I started dealing with. And what ended up happening is I had to cut the entire head off of all of that. So I closed all of the music stuff and every single part of that, fired all of my friends, and I was kind of alone in this giant warehouse for about 3 months, trying to figure out what to do next. And what had happened is, during that time, what we had started doing was we were doing the websites for the artists, and we realized that a website for an artist is super similar to a website for a bakery, or a website for a legal firm, or a website for a mom and pop shoe store, whatever that is. It's basically 5 to 6 pages, who we are, what we do, about us, contact us. Some of those might have a shop, but mostly they're just pretty static, quick websites. So that's what we did. I took the whole side of that business and basically became a freelance web designer, no longer doing any music stuff, and selling websites to people on like flat rate prices very quickly, 2 to 3 websites a month, turning them out. And a partner I'd had in school, years before that, or my very first computer science partner, who's now my co-founder in every single thing we've ever done since then, we were sitting at a coffee shop one day and I was telling him sort of, this is where it is, man. Like, I thought I was gonna be making music, now I'm making crappy websites for crappy people. And, or maybe they were good people, some were crappy because I was chasing them for money. And we were talking about sort of what was going on. And at that time, there was 3 big sort of content management systems out there. It was like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, and they were all really heavyweight things to integrate into your website. And so we got this idea that we could make a lightweight CMS that just worked right on the flat files, just FTP. You didn't have to do any database. You could do the bottom, like if you're the worst programmer in the world, but a really good salesman, like this would be for you. And that's what we came together. I started working illegally out of a job that he was at, where he was paying me to freelance. I sold everything that was left in the other company off, and I just took a summer job under him, basically as his intern. He was working for a large interactive agency, and we were building this product in the afternoons and in the evenings, while during the day I was actually doing the website for I Love New York, like the tourism board of New York City, and they were like, it was weird. So we're building that in the evenings, and eventually we launched it, and that was, that still exists, it's called Pagelime. And that was our first thing. So like, just to pause for a second, what we kind of came from there is like, every single time I failed, we kind of try to like find a new thing to go, and I've always tried to find a new space to move from that. And I find if you just kind of listen to it and you just keep talking and discussing with people, you can usually find a new direction from the failure that doesn't just plummet you to the bottom. And that happened just sort of by friendship and by coincidence, but it's happened countless times since then on different things that we've attempted to do. Pretty soon I'm gonna get back on these slides, because I'm not even sure what happens next, but I know there's gonna be fire at some point. So from there, we created Pagelime. It still exists. It's out there right now. It's got lots of users. It's a subscription model. It was a perfect business for two guys working out of a back office. And what happened is we hit this point where we realized that this wasn't going to be our Facebook. Like, this wasn't going to be our giant, massive, knock it out of the park hit. But we had created a business that every single month paid money, like cash, repeated money, and it was a great business. Like, it's a good business, like in the way if you had a successful franchise business was, like, you know that a check is gonna come in that you can bounce against and have payroll come in, even though we're not gonna sell this for 20x multiple and like buy a bunch of Maseratis. So we said, what could we do with that if we didn't wanna start cutting into those costs and hiring a bunch of people? And we were, at that point, it's like 2010, iPhone is out, there's an app store now. We were like, well, this is a new idea. We can keep doing these. We don't need any more people to build these. We can teach ourselves how to do this, and we'll start shipping these things out there and seeing if we can have the same hit, and funding that all with the content management system cash. That's our own sort of slush fund angel investment into ourselves. And that's what we did. So we launched a bunch of things, spy apps that let you take top secret pictures of people that look like you're doing different things. And all these ideas kind of came from organic occurrences in my life. Like, I was trying to take a picture of this woman with an American flag fanny pack on a metro in DC, and her older son was behind me and saw me like taking a picture of her, and I was like, he's like, are you taking a picture of my mom? And I was like, yeah, my mom also has that fanny pack, and I want you to know that. Like, it's really awesome. And so immediately we went back and we were talking to each other and we're like, yes, that's the ticket. We should make an app that lets you take pictures covertly. So that was sort of our first set of hits. And though the spy apps, the SpyPic and SpyVid, they're out there. And from then we just sort of kept rolling. We used the audiences from each one to propel the next one. At this point we have our biggest hit is an app called Frametastic, which is still in the photography space. And it's got lots and lots of users, and it's good. It's a great product, and we'll probably try to figure out something new with that. But in between getting to that one that we kept levying the users, we've launched games. We launched the thing that showed you food rating systems around everything. Like, I think we've launched 17 iPhone apps in the last 3 years, all internally, all just us in a back room grinding away, and mostly, honest to God, my co-founder doing all of that and me trying to figure out brilliant marketing strategies for very low cost of user acquisition products like the 10 cents you make on an iPhone app. When you do any marketing around it. But almost all of them have failed. So in that same thing, we've launched 7 duds at least, if not 8 duds. I try to just keep moving and not even think about them all. We've never had a successful game, which is sort of the biggest stuff on iPhone, and we've only been able to manage 4 decent wins out of that. But even with that, it was enough to kind of create a pretty decent life. And with Pagelime still kicking and everything, we've got a great little establishment of an umbrella company that puts out a bunch of different things. And so, moving on from there, looking at reasons why failure kicked in and those different things. A lot of the time we've run out of time. You start to think that you have a lot of it and that you are gonna just put something down on paper and it's gonna, oh, I thought you had a question. Okay. Preach. You think that you have, you think you have more time than you do and that you're gonna be able to do that, but actually you run out of deadlines and all kinds of space when you're doing it. And another problem is it's not the right business for you all the time. Like, people are really at this moment super idolizing and idol worshiping entrepreneurism, but I'm not sure if that's always the right answer. I think you need to find what actually works for where you are and what you should be doing, and that might not be, the entrepreneur. It might be the head of marketing. It might be the freaking best janitor in the entire planet who just gets shit done and makes sure that the floor is the cleanest so the company runs. I think the big thing is to not fail is to make sure you're working on something that you truly can work on and you're passionate about. Timing is all the same thing. That's a waste of a bullet point. Poor planning, basically I'm redundant here and I'm saying the same stuff to you. And not legal is a big one that you should be careful of. So there was definitely a time where I was just straight selling bootleg CDs. And that, like, you feel good because you're getting cash and not paying taxes, but in the long run, that's not the way to do it. So the next few slides, we're going to basically talk about running a business. I'm trying to click one more. So the first thing I can say is that you definitely shouldn't lie to yourself. I catch myself, I think I probably did this week, so it's good that I'm doing this presentation, that you have to really be totally aware when you're not delivering, or you think that you're super energized, but you're not, or you've hit the bottom and you haven't really, taking accountability for your personal feelings around that, as well as I know I personally look at numbers and I can interpret them all different ways, all different types of data points around whether things that I'm launching are successful or not. When you know in your heart, like, this is the metric you should be looking at that you're ignoring. So I think as long as you're very capable of saying, like, this is what's going on, either we're doing well or we're not doing well, but looking for solutions around how to move forward and progress between that is the best step. So just making sure that you're always honest with yourself, and in turn, that's pretty much going to make you forced to be honest with your co-founders and everyone else that's on your team. Because the second you get into this sort of self-spin, you get delusional and you lose what you're focused on. I think that, that's not the burn one though. So I think he's not wearing Warbeast yet, but he is in the new one. So as an entrepreneur, at least in my role, I always feel like, and maybe in life I've had this problem, that you think that you have to be Superman all the time. Like, you think you have to go in and save face and roll out and be a pillar of confidence and strength and everything for every single person that's on your team all the time. When I found often, even with just the co-founder, with two people, we've had poor communication at times where it's like, why have we not talked for 3 days? Why is this going on? It's because you're trying to hold it all in such a way that you don't present in a negative light, that you fail even worse when it eventually comes out that why weren't you actually handling business in the way? Yes. Yeah. So this guy is my favorite. I think you get into this problem where you're like, okay, I don't have any boss, I'm my own boss now, I don't have to put any clothes on, I don't have to do anything different, I'm just gonna freeball it all through life. And I've found over and over repeatedly that every time I do that, it gets messed up. Like, you think, like, okay, every entrepreneur I see is just running around riding bikes around campuses and doing all kinds of wacky stuff. You don't have to do that. You should just go about your life the way you actually would do it and continue that. Don't adjust your life to fit the ideals of being an entrepreneur or being a startup person or being anything. Just be your damn self. I'll shoot through these pretty quick, but unrealistic examples, these are things that I've said all the time, and that's more of the time thing, but it's issues with commitment. You feel the need to say yes over and over again, and a lot of times saying yes is great, but saying no is also super, super valuable and super important. So making sure that you have the same balls it takes to jump in are the same balls it takes to get out, or lack of balls, if you don't have metaphoric balls, to handle those different things. Not having a boss that's really yourself. And I think one of the few last things I want to talk about is right now, everyone's falling into this we work really hard dilemma. Like, every time I see someone, they're like, I'm on my grind, son. Like, I am out here so hard. Like, I've been on 62 planes. I've been up till 11 p.m., 14 nights. I'm working 72-hour days. It's insane. And honest to God, it's such bullshit, right? Like, I found over and over and over and over again that if you don't get to that point where you're working 72 hours, the 40 or 45 or 50 that were so much more effective if you just actually take the time to do those right, instead of 60 Facebook posts about how freaking hard you're working. So, I would focus on taking time to recharge between each one of those and not going that hard. Going hard, but not going like fake hard. Last thing to think about is that you have to love what you're doing. You have to care about changing the face of the world. There should be more to what you're doing than just these individual moments. You should be looking to have a larger cause and effect with each piece. Even if your small thing is only changing something, you should do it. The last couple thoughts I have are, this life is a luxury. A lot of people are doing different things or worse things, or having a bad time with it. And even every day when you're working for yourself, I find that's just phenomenal. The stress is nonstop, and that's the dangerous part. You live in this really poor work-life balance, but you've got to be able to get through that and handle it and not crash if you can. And some suggestions for that are a lot of things that are going on in the downtown project right now. Do something different, change up your outfit, put on a suit, get in office, work in someone else's places, just get dressed and get out there and do different stuff. So to end it all, I'm just gonna make you feel all great. You're all really special, even you. And, thanks so much for your time.